What's up, everybody? We're back with another new episode of the Last Wave podcast. We dive into topics like ghosts, UFOs, nerd stuff, and conspiracies, and so much more. As always, thanks for listening. It means a lot. Check out the Facebook page if you haven't already. Same name and photo. A lot of cool stuff on there so far, and a lot more planned. Thanks again on that. Welcome to today's episode. Real quick, I want to make a note. So you guys know, if you haven't seen it on the Facebook page, we do have a Patreon account now. Patreon.com is a really wonderful website that lets content creators kind of monetize what they do just a little bit. There's a lot of people on there that charge quite a bit. It's basically a subscription service. I have it set to $1, $5, or $10. You can also do a custom pledge a month. And basically that gets you access to whatever videos I put on there, which are some of these videos, some from another channel that does gaming stuff, just kind of messing around, as well as exclusive videos every week for the patrons for that website. So you'll get exclusive content. I'm working on learning it a little bit more. That's why I have it set real low, $1 and $5 and that kind of stuff. Once I learn it a little bit more, then I'll start doing more exclusive stuff like chats and right now I have it set to where if you do at least $5, you get a mention in a video for that week, or at least one video, something like that, and basically in the credits for saying you're basically a producer, supporter, thanks for everything, that kind of stuff. So that's what we've got going on. Patreon.com. Look up Last Wave Podcast, same name, everything across all boards. Again, thanks for listening. So we'll go ahead and get into it today. Today we're going over a place called Pintelli Cave. Also, another side note, this will be our first in another new series called Ancient History. If you couldn't tell by the horribly 6th grade thumbnail that I was able to come up with for the series. So this is going to be, obviously, like it says, Ancient History. Cool stuff that you probably wouldn't know about, stuff you don't really hear about in history books. Stuff like that. That's what I like to research. So that's what I bring to you. All right. So Mount Pentelicus near Athens, Greece, is an important area and has been for thousands of years. It is actually an old quarry where marble was mined and cut that was used in the building of sites like the Pantheon. The mountain is famous for mysteries as well as its marble. Davelis Cave, or Pintelli Cave as it is known, is a cave naturally hidden by a dense pine forest on the side of the mountain. The cave contains a network of small tunnels past its main inside cavern. One of the tunnels actually leads to an awesome underground pond, while another allegedly leads to hell. So you have the best of everything. The cave, while visually unassuming, has been the site of many strange happenings over the years, including more recently UFOs, dark apparitions, and other entities as well. The cave was considered different since ancient times. It was known as a sacred place, and there have been artifacts found dedicated to the nature god Pan and his band of wood nymphs. There are carved out sections of walls for items to be placed in, as well as an alcove with a pool of water for an unknown reason. Once Christianity arrived in the area, the site seems to have been adjusted accordingly, and the petitioners began using the cave as a Christian worship site. It also was used for a hideout for certain sects of Christianity escaping persecution during those early times. Certain groups of the Christian sects, like the solitary Hermetic monks, I can't remember the name of the other ones. Basically, the types of situations like the Dead Sea Scrolls, that kind of stuff. These real solitary, few member, different Christian sects of people. So it was used for many different purposes. At the entrance of the cave stands an old stone church. The church was constructed in the 11th century, and inside this church there are glyphs and symbols that have led researchers to believe the building was very early, built by the Gnostics or another of those rare groups and hideaway groups of Christians. Either way, it is clear that even before Christianity, the cave was a spiritually significant site and it continued on when multiple groups moved into the area. Outside of the religious realm, the cave's other namesake from the 19th century outlaw, Davelis, the cave was used as his home base, and basically he was an outlaw hitting local houses and things in the area. He was known to steal from the wealthy in the area as well. There's not a whole lot of information on this individual, so it's hard to know to root for him or not. But at least he only robbed the rich, I suppose. So you got that. There's that. As far as modern reports, there have been numerous instances reported under the paranormal umbrella. People have heard voices from the tunnel or tunnels. There has also been faint music reported coming from the cave. The overall strangeness of the cave was held by the surrounding area, I'm sure. Hidden by by a forest on a secluded mountain slope. I mean, it writes itself, really. The cave in modernity has become so well known that all the way back in the 1960s and 70s, paranormal investigators in the area started looking into the cave. Investigations were often unfruitful, sadly, and this was mainly due to malfunctioning equipment within the cave. Lights, cameras, anything battery operated seemed to malfunction or not work at all. This obviously did not aid to the evidence, but lending to the mystery nonetheless. With the dawn of the space age, UFO sightings were added to the list of paranormal events. After UFO sightings and reports of equipment failures gathered together with the historical significance, an unexpected and unwanted visitor got word of the cave. In and around 1977, an unspecified government agency began work on the cave, sealing the area off with barbed wire and bringing in workers with TNT and mining equipment. When locals came to the cave, they would be turned away by guards, and it was never disclosed what government agency was quarantining the area. Some suspect it was NATO, obviously the US is a suspect, or the more logical Greek military. Locals always suspected they were building a nuclear bunker or weapons storage facility. The secrecy behind the setup and the undisclosed agency, again adding to the cave's reputation. Some better theories as to why the setup happened are an opening of the hell portal, which is allegedly there, opening of portals to other dimensions. Also, due to the disruption of equipment, people thought they may be looking into harnessing the magnetic disturbances of the area. Eventually, they did stop reinforcing the area, and restricted areas became open to the public to sneak into. People wandering around or going on hikes in the area often reported weird oval-like creatures, and that's what it says, it's the only description, oval-like, with large eyes. Strange cars parked on sites and hills where a car shouldn't be able to reach, and floating black spheres. Finally, in 1983, without explanation, the military and employees vanished. No one having a clue of what they were doing there, or what they wanted, and it was unclear as to whether they accomplished their goal at all. The ancient church had sadly been damaged, as well as new tunnels and corridors being built, some leading to nowhere or left incomplete. 1977 to 83 seems like a long time to just add some tunnels, so it really is a strange situation. A second attempt at modifications to the cave was halted by the Greek Ministry of Culture in 1990 in order to prevent further damage. Again, it did not say who was attempting to gain access in what I was able to find. It is still, after all these decades, what the main cause of the instances, or still unclear after all these decades, unclear what the cause of the instances within the cave are. Investigators suspect something to do with the magnetic field, obviously. When people interact with variances in the electromagnetic field, they can experience hallucinations, both visual and auditory, which could explain the sounds of music and voices as well. This is only the suspected scientific explanation for the cave. If you go back to the cave's early religious days, people hearing voices from what they may consider the divine would drive people to set up shop and pursue worship there. There are other caves in the area that held, sacred beliefs in antiquity for similar reasons. There is another cave in Greece as well, as I believe. I don't remember the exact location, possibly the island of Santorini. It was on an episode of not Destination Truth, Expedition Unknown, I believe. One of those Travel Channel shows. I believe it was on the island of Santorini again. But a small cave was found and a small complex constructed around it within the city. What would happen is to show that the priests were chosen by the gods, is that the priests would lead farm animals into the cave. Side note, you probably hear my cat. If you do, I apologize. She's just kind of wandering around doing her own little thing. Anyway, priests would bring farm animals into the cave. The animals would then die shortly after for unexplainable reasons, and the priests would emerge clearly chosen by the gods as that they were allowed to live. Well, what was actually happening, whether the priests really knew it or not, was a thermal vent was releasing deadly gas into the small cave. The heavy gas would only rise a few feet, thus killing the animals and not the humans, as long as they stood upright. So it is clear that caves and things of that nature in antiquity definitely held a flair, by the Greeks. They the Greeks really had a thing for them. So the one thing I really hate about this case, and from what I found, is that the cave still remains, unsolved. It still remains a mystery, but still a really interesting and cool story. As always, I promote continuing your own research onto the case as well as any others that I do. There are a ton of interesting caves and mysterious sites out there. I'm pretty sure we'll probably go into another episode just based on interesting underground sites, because there's an absolute ton of them. You've got ancient temples, cave complexes, basically whole cities dug into the side of mountains and under the earth. So this was just an interesting little tidbit that I came across. I figured it would be interesting to do a story on something I've never heard of and a place that I've never heard of. So that always catches my eye. Anytime there's something I find that I haven't heard anything about, that's always a cool thing for me. So really enjoyed it. Thank everyone for listening. As always, again, check the Facebook page, check out the Patreon page, see if that's something you're interested in. If not, it's fine. You can find most of the videos here on YouTube. Throw a like on the video for me. And again, as always, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.